Hi, my name is Miss Kimberly, and we are today going to make a constellation jar. Now this video is part of our STEAM series. Those are activities that focus on science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And the science we're doing today is astronomy, because a constellation, how many of you have ever looked up in the nighttime sky and seen patterns in all the stars up there? That is what a constellation is. It's a group of stars that together seem to form a picture. So we're going to bring some of those constellations and make them into a fun little nightlight. So what you need for this, you need a mason jar, and you want one that has a nice large opening at the top so that you have room to fit your light inside. You're going to need some aluminum foil. This will be our nighttime sky. You're going to need a book on constellations, and we have tons of these in the library. You're also going to need a light to put inside. So two of your options, you can use a little LED candle, or if you want something brighter, you can use one of these puck lights. You can find them in Walmart or most hardware stores. But you want to make sure that you get one that's small enough to fit inside the opening of your jar. Okay? You're also going to need some scissors, couple of Sharpie markers, and something sharp to poke some holes, because we need this to make the stars in our nighttime sky. All right? So you need to get your aluminum foil. You're going to roll out a bit. Now we need a piece that is just about the same height as our mason jar. Maybe want just a little bit, like a 1/4 of an inch shorter. So a good way to test that is take your mason jar, line it up with the bottom of it, and we're just going to cut right across the top to make the right size. It's okay if it gets a little bit crinkled while you're cutting, because we can flatten it back out again. All right, you can see this one? Nice and just about the same height as our mason jar. Now for how long you want it to be, it has to be long enough that it'll wrap around the mason jar. So again, lay your jar on top of the tin foil, roll it up right on the outside, and you'll see we've got about an inch extra of this. So cut off that extra inch so that you get the ends to meet. Now you may want just a little bit of an overlap because you don't want a gap that the light's going to shine through. Okay, so we're going to cut off our extra inch. All right, get that out of the way. And here you can see, rolls up just right. All right, so put that aside. All right, now we've got our nighttime sky here. Flatten it out nice. Again, it's okay if it's got a few wrinkles in it. Those won't show up once you get the stars inside. So we have our nighttime sky, but if you look at it, I don't see any stars on this, so we need to add them in. This is where you need your book on constellations. You can look through this and see if you can find someone. I bet you can find some constellations that you've seen up in the sky before. Oh, I see a familiar one here. I bet some of you recognize what this one is. Yep, this is the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. So why don't we try and do the Big Dipper? Now you can see the points of light on that. Those are the actual stars that make up the pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our Sharpie marker and we're going to draw the dots for the stars that make up the constellation. So pick a nice corner here. This works. You can make it, see, it looks kind of like a frying pan. So you've got the top part, and here's the handle. There we go. We have our Big Dipper. Now if you want to go ahead and draw a line to connect the dots so you can see the actual pattern, that is fine. That makes it easier to find it. So we'll go ahead and draw the lines between the stars. There we go. And now we have our Big Dipper. So, but we have the dots. Now those aren't going to shine like stars, so we need to actually take and poke some holes through our nighttime sky so that the light can shine through and look like stars. So this is where we need whatever you pick to poke your holes. Now this works best if you put something underneath this to poke through, so that way you're not scratching your table. Or so a good piece, nice piece of styrofoam or a thick piece of cardboard works really well. So wherever you had the dots, that's where you're going to poke through to make your star. So poke it, make it a nice big hole. There we go. So now you can see I've poked my holes for my stars, and that will show the Big Dipper. So we have a lot of room in our nighttime sky here. So let's see if we can find some other constellations. Some that you might recognize. Now if you can look, you may find constellation that is for the month that you were born. Those would be the constellations like Taurus the Bull, or Cancer the Crab, or how about, we have Leo the Lion here. Now this is a good one to recognize because you see it looks kind of like a question mark. That is Leo's head and his mane, and then we have his body here. So why don't we do Leo the Lion? Let's pick a good spot in our nighttime sky, and take your Sharpie marker and make the dots for the stars that make up the constellation. There we've got our question mark for his head. There. We've got Leo the Lion here. Now again, just like with the Big Dipper, you can go ahead and connect the dots so that you can see the outline a little bit better. There we go. Leo the Lion. So now we need to make our stars. So again, get your styrofoam or whatever you put underneath it. Get your sharp object, and let's poke our holes through for the stars. All right. Now we have our stars for Leo the Lion. Now we still have a lot of room in our nighttime sky, so let's see if we can find a nice big constellation to fit in this open space here. Let's see. Oh, here's one that I bet a lot of you have found in the nighttime sky. It's an easy, recognizable one. Orion the Hunter. Now this one is easy to find because you find the 3 stars that make up his belt. And then you can see all the rest of his outline. His body, his arm, his bow and arrow. So why don't we do Orion the Hunter? All right. So we've got a nice big space. Let's do our 3 stars for the belt. And we've got his body. Got to do his bow and arrow here. And his arm reaching up in the back. There we go. We've got all of our stars for Orion the Hunter. Now since this one has a lot more stars involved, let's definitely do the outline so it makes it a lot easier to see the actual constellation. Of course, got to do the 3 stars for the belt. Then his body. There we go. Got his arm reaching up. And then his bow and arrow. There we go. We've got Orion the Hunter in our nighttime sky. All right, so once again, we need to poke the holes for the stars. So take your sharp object and poke through. There's a lot of stars in Orion. Fun part of doing this on styrofoam, you get that nice crunch, crunch, crunch when you poke it through. All right, last one. All right, now we have all of our stars for Orion the Hunter. So I think we pretty much filled up our nighttime sky with the constellations. Now, if you look up in the sky, you can see the constellations because those are some of the brightest stars out there. But there's a lot of others. You don't want just the constellations, so we need to fill in some extra stars. So go ahead, and this time we're going to poke slightly smaller holes. Remember, the constellations are the bright stars, so those are nice big holes. So the little holes are just the extra stars. So go ahead and just poke all over just to fill in some stars. Because there are a lot of stars in the nighttime sky. Some of them may be a little hard to see in the city, but maybe if you go out in the country where there's less lights, you can see tons of stars up in the sky. There we go. All right, so now we have tons of stars poked into our nighttime sky, but still, our constellations are the biggest holes, so those should be the nice bright ones. So now we need to put our nighttime sky inside our mason jar. So go ahead and open the top. Now again, the easiest way to roll it up is to go ahead and just roll it on the outside of your jar. So it doesn't get all crinkled up and all folded and everything. So now you got a nice shape. And you can just slide it right inside. Oops. There we go. Now if it folds up a little, you can just stick your hand in and kind of straighten it out again a little bit. So now you have our nighttime sky inside our jar, but you're not going to see the stars very well, especially once it gets dark like this. So we need to add some light inside. So we've got our puck light. You go ahead and press it on top to turn it on, and you just whoops, I dropped it upside down. That won't work. So you just take it and drop it right inside here. You can go ahead and push it down a little bit. There you go. Now that light will shine through all of the holes so that you'll be able to see all of your constellations and all of your stars. And you just put the lid back on top. And now you have a constellation jar. Now this is nice because you can put it on your bedside table at nighttime, and you've got a nice little night light. And also, if it's nice and bright inside, it'll actually project some of those stars onto the walls around your room. Now the fun thing about this, if you've ever looked up at the nighttime sky at different times during the year, you might have noticed that you'll see different constellations at different times of the year. Like if you look at the sky in March, you'll see maybe Taurus the Bull or stars like constellations like that. If you look more in August, that's when you'll see Leo the Lion. So you can actually change the constellations that you see in your jar. Just get a different sheet, because once you finish with this one, you just slide that one out, and you can make a different constellation sheet for different times of the year. Okay, so you can change it to match what you'll see up in the sky at night. All you just need is a book of constellations, and as I said, we have plenty of these in the library. We have also some books about the planets that you may see. I bet if you looked outside in the sky right now, you might see a planet out there right now. Well, in the dark at nighttime, you can see a planet up in the sky. So you can find some books on planets, on stars, on constellations, all the things that you'll see in the nighttime sky. We have those at the library. Thank you. Bye.